Welcome to Wild Hearts episode number 20. It is Monday morning, April 1st, and they're talking over me while I'm trying to do this really cool intro. You guys ruined my intro. I was trying to do a really cool.
Sorry.
It was so hilarious. Sorry, it's all in there.
We're so quiet.
No,
This is so
quiet good. People.
No, this is awesome. Whoa.
Alright, so since this is my live, I'm like, where do I look? There's so many streaming
There's a lot of them.
Experiences here.
Yeah,
Sean,
there's
that's
stealth.
not a good angle for
I
you.
love it. No, it's stealth mode. It's a new angle.
You look really good with that angle.
So I'll look at that camera.
Yeah.
Um,
I always regret wearing these pants. Okay, sorry. Sorry.
Cheers.
Okay, cheers.
Good morning.
Cheers.
Good morning.
Good morning. And on that note, I actually love my pants and my shirt and my hat. So.
Mine are fancy stretch pants, so I'm feeling mine.
Wait, do they feel?
Get up in there.
Oh yeah. Okay.
way.
Do they feel?
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Scoot this
So
way.
funny story about stretch pants. I was at work. I was at Armando's serving.
We're gonna start.
I did not have stretch pants on, but I was talking about golf, and Under Armour makes these dope. They're like, it's my favorite pair of golf pants. They're bright blue, and they're super stretchy. They're like almost, well,
Like
I guess
yoga pants?
almost, but not like, you know what I mean? There's nothing, you're not like really getting all tight in the places. So you can
Everybody
do,
visualize
no,
it?
so
Sean
you
in
can
yoga
do,
pants?
so you can do like squats like this. You can do
Okay.
some lunges. And so
If
I
your
would,
golf game gets real active, you
but,
can
yeah, but like, well, you know, you gotta get a good stretching before the game. So then I was serving though, and I did not have stretching pants. I was like, yeah, you can go like this, and just right in the crotch. Just,
at work.
and I was like, oh yeah, these aren't the stretchy pants. So then I worked the rest of the evening with a giant hole in my
You have
crotch.
an apron, so
Yeah, I
you-
had an apron, so not myself. But if I bent over, maybe they did see.
Oh,
I'm not sure.
Sean actually has this really big problem where all of his pants have
Three
holes in the crotch.
in the last 2 weeks.
Real aggressive.
Yeah, I know. I don't know what that's all about.
I wish I didn't know that fun fact about you.
Well,
But I do.
So
It's
that
all
one's
about
not
fun.
blank. Is that acceptable for going live?
I believe it's going live anyway.
Okay, great.
Okay, great.
Oh, just kidding.
That's why we brought you on.
All right, that's Carrie's actually our technical advisor.
Oh,
You're in like deep doo-doo if I'm your
yeah.
Oh my god, I love the tone of this already.
This
is
is
a lot
going
of fun.
great.
Okay.
Good morning,
yeah, deep
everyone.
breath. Good morning, everyone.
Welcome.
Welcome. I tried to do a cool intro earlier, but welcome to Wild Hearts episode number 20. It's Monday morning at 9 something, like 07, April 1st. It is
This
April
watch
1st.
doesn't even work. I don't know.
Can you, first of all, can we even believe it's April 1st? What
Can
the
you
French
believe this
does.
is episode 20?
Do you think that anyone is gonna do an April Fool's joke on you today? Because I'm not
Oh,
down
is that
for
a thing?
those. Isn't it?
Are you gonna do one of
No,
those?
I'm not.
Are you?
Nope.
No, I didn't even know that was a thing.
I find like little to no comedic value in
I thought I
pranks.
won
Is this an
something.
April Fool's joke? Is this an
No.
April Fool's toast?
America runs on talking, including me, even though Michaela.
Because it tastes like garbage water?
Exactly. Thank you.
Sorry.
It's okay. 2 against 1. Well, guess what, guys?
I feel like people are gonna like angrily post under here on comments like, how
Yeah.
dare you?
I hope Keith's watching.
I know, that's the first thing I thought. I was
Woo!
like, Keith, don't watch.
Okay.
Alright, so we should
Let's get
introduce
started.
ourselves to Carrie's humans, and then we can introduce her, and
Yeah.
ready, steady, go.
Yeah.
You always go first.
So yeah, we'll just say hi to your folks real quick. So I am Michaela of Michaela Jean Photography, other half of Wild Hearts Podcast. We're actually at my other business right now, Maple and Moon Creative, which is a photography studio and collaborative community workspace. We rent out the space to photographers who need a place to shoot and or host a workshop. We are in downtown Dover. Come check us out sometime.
It's gorgeous, folks, if you haven't seen it.
Yes, thank you.
Good morning, guys. I'm going to be talking in a Boston accent. No, I'm
Oh.
kidding. Hi, my name is Sean Adam, Up and Adam Inspirational Speaking, and the other 50% of Wild Hearts Podcast. Really excited. A lot of the work I do is really with men and kind of developing an emotional language, because that was so much a part of my story in dealing with mental health issues throughout my 20s. And only other cool thing we got going on is I do have a book that I co-authored with 35 other men that will be released May 1st.
Cool.
Right. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. So,
Fun stuff.
And I guess there's possibly some people of my people for soul models that might not know who I am yet.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
I am Carrie Penna,
Love it.
and I'm the executive director of Soul Models. So, hey y'all.
Yeah.
Nice to the name.
Woo!
I mean, Should we like just ask what soul model is right now? Like,
Let's get it. Yeah, let's get it
like,
out
just
there.
tell
for all
them.
the
Like,
people.
just tell them.
Yeah.
Before we even dive into your story, just
Yeah.
tell the people a little bit about soul models.
Awesome. Okay. So we are an after-school program. We run for 10 weeks. Right now we are at Shackley Middle School, and for people who aren't local, that's in Carrie, and then also Portsmouth Middle School. And we work with the girls during those 10 weeks. We do yoga and meditation to help with anxiety and depression and things that come up for that age group. We do leadership skills, help them find their voice, feel comfortable in their skin. And excuse me, lastly, we do community service with them because there's some cool statistics around if people are more active and involved in their community, they're going to be less apt to be involved in drugs and alcohol and other things that are not a positive influence on them. So yeah, giving them the tools in their tool belt for middle school so that as they grow and become young adults, they have that skill set, hopefully.
So cool.
That's amazing. So can we also talk about the like, I loved this part of our conversation, and I think you know about me, I like truth. So can we talk about the not so fun side of like why this was created? Like these girls, or what's the percentage of people that aren't eating or something? Please, let's talk about like, that's what this is all about.
That was a really interesting statistic because I have an amazing woman on my board, Libby Height, if she's watching. And she's more of like, she's the yin to my yang, and I'm not a numbers person, but really interesting stats around that one. So when we went to Portsmouth Middle School, we found out that about 20% of the kids are on free or subsidized meal plans, and for our country, the national average is 25%. So I, growing up in the Seacoast area, but also living in Portsmouth, had like my rose-colored glasses on, and to find out that we are, I mean, it's 5%, so let's call it the same. Like, it's essentially, we are the national average. Like, I thought we were doing better for our children than that. And at the Portsmouth program, I was noticing snacks were not snacks anymore. People were putting things in their backpacks and taking more than just like, you know, a snack essentially at program. It was, so I talked to the counselor, and it was definitely, they don't know where the next meal is coming from. And so it was that granola bar is actually their safety net in case dinner isn't at home, or that third yogurt is because maybe there's no breakfast. So when they come back to school, there's end 68 hours of hunger and other programs that are super cool. But that was something I didn't realize that Soul Models was gonna need to kind of support that need as well.
It's so wild because I think so many of us have the same, like I didn't know those stats obviously before until I heard you speak about them. And it's like we walk around like our beautiful, I mean we're in Dover right now obviously, but like we walk around our beautiful like Portsmouth downtown, and you would never have those assumptions.
Yeah.
It's like it's such an interesting space because it brings up like incredible sadness to believe that there's kids that are like you said, hoarding snacks because they have no idea where their next meal is coming from. But it's also like brings up this space of gratitude, right? That I was provided for as a kid, and like I eat every day. And that's not something I worry about. And for what was it, 23% of the kids
20%?
around here?
Yeah.
I mean, that's insane. So for me, it's like, let's bring light to this and like, what can we do to give back? Because I personally believe, I can't stand seeing homeless people, never mind kids.
Well,
like that hurts a lot.
And this was, a couple years ago before I was with Soul Models, but we were doing a fundraiser, and another one of my amazing board members, Susan, was going around getting some raffle things and, snacks donated and this, that, and the other. We're a nonprofit. We run ourselves on community support. And so she had gone to a restaurant and had asked if there was something that they could donate. And the manager basically said, your organization is not a life and death situation. So I don't feel like he essentially said it's not important.
Yeah.
And when she told me this story, it was so frustrating because, I'm not a mom, I don't have kids, but I obviously work closely with them and want my own someday. And it was heartbreaking because it was like, really? You want to wait until our kids are starving? That's what you want to do? You want to, just like a cry It makes me so upset
Yeah.
that like
Yeah.
someone could actually, you know, and I don't want to make that person wrong because maybe they have some charities and some needs that they feel very strongly about. But, like, why would you wait until someone is addicted to drugs to get them like the help, or starving to death to get them the food? Like, it's just like,
Well, it's a pretty, honestly, it's kind of a good representation of like how our society works right now.
Yeah.
Like we don't spend a lot of time or money in preventative care, and we spend a lot more of that time and money in trying to reverse things
yeah,
once they've happened.
Yeah, it's so. I love this part of our conversation too, because it's like a collective consciousness thing. It's like, all right, I have raging diabetes. Now pay attention.
Right.
Or
give me that insulin because I
Yeah.
have, instead of,
or now Portsmouth is the #1 in the country heroin epidemic place. Oh, now we'll start like paying attention. Or you know, even our Earth is headed in this direction. Like, you know, oh, global warming is like a thing. Like,
Right.
oh, maybe when there's like 3 seconds left for us to make an action, like we'll dive into it. And even I even want to go into healthcare because these are all issues like I would like that I have some issues with. But it's like healthcare, right? Like hospitals are only profitable from sick people. And it's not to say that maybe we aren't teaching people preventative care, but I don't think we're doing a good enough job, because if you're doing things to prevent the sickness,
right.
then hospitals aren't profitable. So it's not in their best interest to teach you as a young person, oh, like, here's all the things. It's just a bunch of conflicting information,
Yeah.
and eventually
Yeah.
you're like, oh, this gives me whatever, everything gives you cancer, whatever.
Yeah, not to go down that rabbit hole too far, but I actually like used to get really bad migraines a couple years ago, and they're so bad that like I would go home from whatever I was doing. I felt so terrible, like I would throw up. I was just so nauseous from it, and I would just go into my bedroom and I would sleep it off. And I felt so bad that I finally went to the doctor, and they just gave me a ton of medication. And I showed my friend who was a doctor, and he was like, "Yo, that is like a crazy high like dosage," and just like that didn't make me feel good. I was like, "Well, why? Like, why am I? What's going on?" And then I switched all my products to ones that are cleaner, and you know, all those things, and like
Yeah.
my migraines went away, and I no longer have this like crazy
No,
crazy
say
ass like medication
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
like it wasn't even looking at the issue. The root. I could just have continued on that forever, or maybe because the health and beauty industry in our country is embarrassing, and the last time they've like passed legislation to make sure things were safe and clean for us was, I want to say, in like the 30s or 40s, that it's like, why aren't we, but we're, because they're
Yes.
benefiting, because people
Yeah.
are getting migraines, or
Yeah.
they're getting whatever they're getting, or they're buying the makeup, or they're buying the products.
Yeah.
It's just like a really gross, vicious cycle.
Yeah, but it's a collective consciousness thing, so.
So I guess, like, let's just talk a little bit more about soul models, and kind of maybe off of that, and like, what are you, because like though, like that specifically, for example, is like, that's a tough lesson.
Dance just like, that's
That-
how happy
that
soul
dance
models
is
makes
so
me.
good.
It's just like,
It's my sushi dance. Sushi. But so like, what are some things that you, like, what's an example of like a day with the girls? Like, what does that look like? Like, what are you kind of diving into? Like, what are the lessons that you're trying to teach them and that kind of thing?
yeah, okay, that's a great question. So we try to keep the yoga and the journaling component consistent in every week, in each of the 10 weeks. We feel like that's a really important piece of that. And then aside from that, we do have a different facilitator, there's the word. And so we've had people that do booty yoga to like get them moving in their bodies. We've worked with essential oils, and the conversation is the bigger conversation of what feelings are coming up for you. What would you like more help coping with? And you know, is it grief? Well, there's certain scents that help you with that. Or is it sadness? Is it anxiety? So then like the bigger picture, the bigger conversation is about feelings and emotions and how you're handling them. And then the fun component, because again, we're dealing with 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, you know, like they're not adults. And so we want to make it fun and attractive and interesting. Right. So then we make roller balls, and those are super fun for them. Or and we did crystals along with the roller balls, which they love those types of things. And talking about the properties, and if you could create a crystal, what would that do for you? And what do you need support in? And so again, it's like the fun piece where they're like, this is a pretty crystal, but then the bigger conversation is, what do you need support in? What do you need from me? And then we get to know them on a different level, because then the conversation turns into, one girl said, like, I want it to make me pretty, or like, I want it to make me not lonely. I cry every day. You know, like the things that, yeah, like, my friends know that, like, Thursdays typically I'm like, let's not, like, we try to see each other every week, and I'm like, let's steer away from Thursdays, because although it is like a huge energy outpouring and I love it with every fiber of my being, it's a lot, and I like to go home and just, because that expression, like, you can't pour from an empty cup or whatever that is, so I have to restore myself a lot, because it's big conversations come up, even though it's through the lens of like, oh, we're doing yoga, or we're working with essential oils, or we're making friendship bracelets, or we're talking about mindful eating, and
I think that's, like, it's so important, because I think what you're, like, teaching them is that, like, all of those components of themselves are important, right? Like the need to feel pretty, or the need to feel not alone and connected, like, to realize at a young age, like, oh, like, my needs are important, because I think so many of us, at least I can say, like, going through your childhood, I don't even think I knew what my needs were.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and I didn't learn until I was like 25. Started to figure out, like, oh, maybe I kind of have an idea in this. Like,
and then finding the language around being able to communicate it to people is hard too.
Yeah, especially because I think, like, as an adult, I mean, and I think this is just again a collective thing. Our world's not slowing down anytime soon. It's only getting faster. So there's like it's an interesting cycle, because there's like an anxiety that almost comes with that, like this need to keep up, or you just get caught in the do. We're all guilty of it.
Needed to take a deep breath to, like, release that, even as you're saying that.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
And not only, so you have that cycle going, and then we're so caught up with trying to be enough through our outward actions, because it's like team no days off, rise and grind, all this different messaging, and like I've adhered to that, but again, it's always coming back to, like, it comes from in here. So if you're not understanding, like, what are my needs, or like, how am I creating value for myself from the inside, you know, that's challenging. And I think Frederick Douglass said it, one of my favorite quotes, and I think it ties in nicely with what we're talking about, is it's easier to build strong children than to fix, I mean, in this case, he talks about broken men, but same thing with women. I mean, humans, broken humans.
Yeah, Lindsay James did a phenomenal exercise with the girls about connection, and how important it is to connect to yourself, and you know, what does connection feel like, what does disconnection feel like, and it started around the conversation of social media, though, and we are a phone-free zone at Soul Models, which Shapley does a really cool job of. They actually don't have Wi-Fi, so there's almost like no ability to anyways. But it is so interesting when you're not looking at your notifications, you're not looking to see, oh, like, who's liking it, or you know, like, for them specifically, it's, does that boy I like, did he like that photo? And it brings me so back, because I'm 36, so middle school was a long time ago. But it is like, oh God, Valentine's Day was a tough day at program, because one of the girls didn't get any Valentines, and and then some of them got a lot, and then it just, so there's so many, like, beautiful, amazing, fun, cool evolutions in middle school, and then it's also, like, there are those, like, painful, awkward moments. Like, I was awkward as hell. Like, I had, like, braces, I hated my red hair, I had pimples, like, I was not, you know, it was middle school, you know, but, like, bringing me back to, like, the realness of, like, what that looks like to feel different, to look different to a certain extent. And
but I think embrace that, right? I know, I wonder if you feel this way now, but, like, I appreciate being unique. Whereas my entire life, I literally resisted everything and tried, like, hid and was a chameleon to try and fit in.
Well, we're all unique, right?
Absolutely.
But it's just like we feel like at that age that we do have to be a certain way and fit in. But at the end of the day, like, I mean, it's so interesting to think, like, what keeps going through my mind is Sean and I were having a conversation before you got here about kind of like generations.
Okay.
And like we were talking about And of course, this is just like my own opinion and how I kind of see things, but it's like the generation before us, so like, or maybe like my parents, like our parents' generations kind of were trying to just like survive. And then I feel like our generation is very much focused on like kind of healing different wounds, like within ourselves and other people and maybe family members and the society. And I feel like something cool that's happening now is things with soul models, like we're trying to attack those quote unquote wounds before they even become those, which I think is really cool. And can you maybe speak about like that, but also, it's kind of like a two-part question it's becoming in my mind, but like going back to like where you were at that age and like how having a program like Soul Models could have maybe impacted your life moving forward. That was a lot. I'm kind of confused.
That's okay. No, one thing that I was thinking about too is a lot of people ask like, what is like the perfect girl to come for Soul Models? What is your demographic almost, or who are you seeking out? And you know, I was speaking to a parent who, whatever, was talking about a child that we both know, and she's like, would she be a good fit because she has a very loving mom and a supportive dad? And my answer to that is almost like if their schedule fits it, like this child does like every sport known to man, I was like, that might not be a good fit for her as far as Soul Models, but only because she actually doesn't have the time. But there is no child that I don't think that could benefit from having the space where we give them to be their self, like their real self, to be in communication. One of the girls, the girl who said she cries all the time because she's lonely, said that she wants to come back to Soul Models next year because it's her happy place. It's where they feel that there's two girls that came back, it was their second session, and they're best friends now, and together they tried out for the play and they're playing basketball. And one of the girls left school last year because she wasn't comfortable. There was a couple, I don't want to like share too much information, but some situations going on where she didn't feel like she wanted to be at school. So she did the homeschool thing for a little bit, and we're at Shapley during the winter time, so we just wrapped up, but she's back and doing all those programs that I just mentioned. So, and has her new friend. And so sometimes I worry, and I think that's like the perfectionist in me, that I worry that I'm not doing enough, or that I'm not making a big enough change, or like what could I do more. And it's like, even if that it's like those two girls that had a beneficial experience, I mean, that's two lives, that's two humans that could, you know, and who knows, like, are they, like when we do the vision board experiences with them, like, did that conversation spark, oh, I could do more, and I could be the scientist or the veterinarian or whatever, you know, like, are they seeing the light in themselves that we each week through every facilitator try to like shine a light on and be like, you're special, you're unique, you're amazing, your gifts, your voice, all important. Let's hear it. We want to. It's like.
But see, so all I can think of right now is the impact and the ripple effect of our actions. Yeah. And you say it's two girls, right? And maybe it's more than you know, but maybe it's those two girls, and you know, you're caught in this moment where they're young, and you know, you may not get the validation of seeing how much that affected their lives, but who knows? Maybe the next one of them is our first female president.
Yeah.
Maybe the next one of them is the next Rosa Parks or Michelle Obama or Oprah.
Yeah.
You know, we never can quite see the effect we have. Like, maybe you'll be lucky and they send you a letter, or you see it, or it's something super impactful. But I even know for myself, you know, if Les Brown's watching this, maybe he is. Maybe, why not? Les Brown, you should be watching this. But, you know, 5 years ago, I was sitting in my truck to press, I listened to one of his talks. And I do everything I do now because of that one moment.
And it's like,
you know,
and that's enough, in my opinion, you know, it's
yeah.
Like back to your original question, I think about my 11-year-old self, and I remember, I can almost feel it in my skin still, like the discomfort in my own skin. I felt, you know, like I was a little chubbier. Now I love it. I get it from my mom. I love my red hair, but at the time I didn't really know anyone else that had red hair. My sister has brown hair, so it's like I just wanted everyone had brown hair, you know, like, so it's like I just wanted to be normal and look like everybody else. So I made a list of, you know, because I didn't have a job at 11, but I was like, when I have the money and the means, these are the things that I'm going to change about myself.
My whole body squirms
because you know this. Yeah, so it's like I made the list of like, what can I do, and then that was like, this is what I'll change, and then I'll be happy. Or this is what I'm going to change, and then I'll love myself. You know, like that, like really like painfully sad like connection that I made between the two. And I remember like my nose, I wanted it to be smaller. I wanted my hair to be blonde, and I wanted to be thinner. And you know, it's just like I could go on with the list, and it like makes me sad for my younger self, because like with those words is like really a lot of like dislike for myself. And so I think every time I'm at program and I see the girls, I learn the same lessons. I write a recap every week, so if people want to get it, email me. But yeah, so it's like I learn the lessons that I'm teaching them, and the facilitators are working with them on. But we did one about looking in a mirror, and you had to say back to yourself, I love you and I appreciate you, or say one thing that you thought was really cool, like you are a fabulous friend. And we always try to steer them away from like, we do a body mapping exercise where you write things on there, and so it's like strong athlete, brave, talented writer, or like things that are really special and really cool about each of them, or like listener and friend, and not like cute hair or like cool glasses or like things that are on the surface. And like, so it's how many times do you do that? Like look in the mirror and make sure you're saying something to yourself that's like loving and supportive and kind and builds you up, as opposed to like the first instinct is to look and be like, I want, you know, like
That's why I have a big yellow sticky note on my mirror that says, I'm proud of the man you have become. For that exact reason, because, and I can thank Nick Mirabella for that. But honestly, it's just because, like, I wake up and not every morning's rainbows and ponies where I'm like, you fucking stud, you know? It's like, I don't even know what it is half the time, where it's just like, once I wake up, it starts racing, and it's either in like a positive direction or not such a great one, and I have to like recover that and get grounded. But, you know, that's important. And it's, even for myself, like hearing you say that stuff, I mean, I think part of the reason I cringe is like, this might be a little bit too much information, but I remember like literally sitting on a toilet when I was a kid and like looking at my thighs and being like, and honestly they're like sitting on the seat, so it like makes them look bigger, but I was like, my thighs are fat as like an 11-year-old boy. And
but haven't you done that as a woman too?
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like, but
like maybe not that exact scenario.
I also just like want to bring light to, I don't think it's just like body image is not just like a woman thing either. I mean, because for me growing up, and I've talked about this on my Instagram, is like, you know, part of the reason I did a bodybuilding competition is like, well, if I'm jacked and have a six-pack, then I'm enough for like a beautiful girlfriend or whatever it is, you know what I mean? Like, it never came from a place of like, oh, I love myself.
Right.
Because I also destroyed my body doing that. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think this stuff is so important, and like I've had dreams of creating these new schools where it's like, whether you call it self-awareness or teaching kids to empower themselves or realize they're important or whatever, like teaching them about these important things such as emotions and how to handle these situations and how to like talk healthy to yourself, because it's all stuff that I wish I had, you know, in those moments, because I think I had a lot of great experiences. I was safe, I had a lot of good things, but there was a lot I missed out on from an emotional side of things and a connection-based side of things, and there was a lot of pain I think I went through because I wasn't aware of these things, and I didn't really have a teacher in those areas, you know. So I think this stuff, what you're doing, is incredibly important.
Well, as we grow, there's interest in other school districts, and so, you know, we get the question, myself as the ED or as the board, you know, what areas are you targeting? Where do you want to go? And are you going to stay away from the more like affluent areas? And help like the at-risk? And again, like I think I touched on it a little bit earlier, but I don't see any area, any child as more important or less important of receiving our support and services. So I mean, I grew up in the Durham area, so I'd love to be in the Oyster River School District because it's near and dear to my heart. So anyone listening, if you know the school
Sorry, guys.
counselors, the middle school, send her my way or him my way. You know, we might be in York next year as well. So, yeah.
So if somebody were interested in like, because like the goal obviously is to keep growing. Like if somebody in another city or town, like in New Hampshire or wherever, was interested in like being a part of Soul Models, like what does that look like?
Being a part of as far as
or like
being a facilitator or bringing it to their school system?
Bringing it to another school system.
Yeah, so we work really closely with the school counselor. They are just an unbelievable resource because they're on the ground with the girls every day. So they can help with recruitment, if you will, because they know some people that would benefit. So that's been really helpful. So yeah, getting in contact with the school counselor, and then word of mouth. I think the reason why Kittery has been so successful is because when, you know, Soul Models was created a few years back, it was at the Kittery Community Center. So Kittery has more of a knowledge base and a foundation. So 7 girls that were in our program last year came back, and then we had 16 girls at Shapley for this winter session, which is huge. In Portsmouth, our first one, we had about like 8 girls. It was a little on the smaller side, but it was our first one, and I think the conversation's still getting started, and it's neat. Shameless plug for our event coming up May 15th in Portsmouth, but it is all about the word of mouth and the exposure and having the stories, because if people have the experience, and our facilitators are, I would say, like mainly Portsmouth based, but Seacoast based, so them being in conversation about the girls and the experience and what they're creating and what they're supporting, I think that is going to help the program grow.
So I guess with that being said, if you were interested in being a facilitator but you didn't live in the Portsmouth area, what would that look like?
We had someone drive down from like middle of, I don't even know where. Like, I think she drove for an hour and a half to come down from the middle of Maine to do a really neat Zen tangle. It's like a meditative, I don't want to call it doodling, but it's like a meditative drawing experience. So yeah, like there is, if you're willing, we are, you know, again, volunteer run, so we can't pay your mileage to come down, but if people want to be involved, reach out through either our Instagram, Facebook, email, all the soulmodels.org has all of our things.
But I think it's super important because you guys are already seeing the success of like people wanting to be a part of this, and I think most of your facilitators, I mean, I could be wrong, but from what I've seen, is women. So you're clearly seeing women that I think like has this touched them in that place where like they're like, wow, I wish I had this, and they want to become involved. And like, do you mind if I ask about? I think you guys recently had two of our old podcast guests and friends, Carrie and AJ, coming. Can we like?
I love it because I was like, who are you gonna say? Are you gonna say Rhea? Are you gonna say Jen Rozier?
Oh, sure. So,
Steph,
I don't even know about those ones, but I just know that.
Because they've all been on Hearts too.
Yeah. Not Jen yet.
Not Jen. She will be.
But Steph
was, because Steph and Jen came in. So sorry, Sean, I cut you off.
It's
you want to know about?
Yeah, like just talk about like their most recent, you know, what went on in that event, and like they worked with the girls, just because I just think like I know for myself, and I know those are my friends, so I have a feeling I know why they came in there. But it's like the things that like, again, I'm trying to do things that where like I'm being the person I wish I had. You know what I mean? So I feel like that's what drew them to that. It's like we're talking about building community around these things, and it's cool.
I'm very lucky that so in my former life, when I worked at Lululemon, I was in the yoga community pretty heavily, and so I made connections with people like AJ. I actually met her through that, and then Carrie through, goodness, I don't know, just being the amazing human that she is. I don't know.
White Heron.
Probably.
Let's be real.
White Heron.
White Heron.
The press room, maybe. I mean,
true.
Which I'm like, after this, I'm gonna circle back to that event. But I'm like,
come back to that.
Tangents all day, every day.
So good.
But so they. Sometimes we like to pair up facilitators to do something together. Carrie had been a facilitator in the past and done more of a creative writing experience because that's her background. And AJ had done vision boards and goal coaching, which plays to her strong skill sets as well. So those were at the Portsmouth soul model sessions. And then for Shapley, we matched them up and let them know that they were going to be coming in together. And I love to let our creative people create. So it used to be people would say, like, what do you want me to share with the girls? And I never say, like, here's your script, here's what I want you to show, because that would be silly for me to say, I know the best language and I have more information than you do about your particular thing. So if someone's coming in and doing mindful eating, I'm not going to tell you what to say about food because I don't have a culinary background. So for them, I love to sit with them, grab a coffee and be like, what do you want to contribute? And then work it from that lens. But yeah, they did a really neat exercise about defining friendship, and the girls listed on one side of the board, like, what are the qualities and attributes of a friend and friendship, and the other side, when someone's not showing up for you and not being a good friend, what does that look like? And yeah, it was really neat. And then, you know, they just worked it in a cool, beautiful way where the girls had to sit back to back and like lift each other up, like that exercise where, so it's like learning to truly support each other. And when you're working together, you're lifting each other up, quite literally. And then making a friendship bracelet and giving it to the other person and explaining like why it looked the way it did. My bracelet, I have my other soul models bracelet on, but I had one from one of the girls, and it was a looser like bangle type, because that's what I tend to wear. So it's like she watches what she said, that she appreciated that I have that like easy, like to talk to, easy breezy kind of like open. So that's why my bracelet was loose, and the girls all did that for each other. And
that's so cool.
Yeah, it's like they are facilitators. I can't say enough about what they do to make our program a success, because they are so insightful for exactly what they need to share with the girls, and they do it in a creative way that inspires them and excites them and keeps their attention. And for anyone who works with middle schoolers, they are like really hard to wrangle. So it's a cool experience. And yeah.
Wow.
I love that so
That is so good.
Yeah, and then like Rhea's, I could just speak about like our facilitators all day, every day. But like Rhea's was kind of centered around, initially when she and I talked, I was like, I want you to talk about social media, because I feel like, you know, the Snapchat and the Instagram and the texting and the Facebook and the filters and the blah, 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 blah. You know, it's like, it could go on and on and on. And then it turned into a really amazing conversation where she brought her business card, and then we came full circle, and the girls started talking about what their own business cards would look like, what they want to create, who they want to be. And you know, the ones who, some of them wanted to be chefs, so they were writing out a menu for their restaurant that they were going to open someday. One of the girls who, you know, goes from like home to home for, you know, whatever reason, wants to design and build tiny homes for homeless people. And so like brainchild from my friend Abby Hardiman. And she was saying, she's like, let's work together and do a mentorship program, which essentially is what we're doing, but like the next level, where like the person who wants to like design and create homes, like maybe they go to Brass and Pine and sit with Pam, and they learn about like reno and decor and all that kind of stuff. Or, you know, we actually had someone from Shapley last year go around with Rhea, because she wanted to be a photographer and like mirror what a day in the life of a photographer, you know. So those types of things where we learn about Jen DeRozier from Lainey and Lou. It's like, if there's someone interested in culinary, like, do they come to the cafe and be in the kitchen for the day? Or it's just like there's so many opportunities to get them matched up with strong entrepreneurial women or men in our community. I do feel like there's a little bit of the female component that has been our jam as of right now. That's helpful. But yeah, like match them up with someone that, there are so many people in our community that are just aching to give their time, their energy, and their love and support of these girls, that it's like, that's next step for me. That's like vision.
I have so many things. I'm trying to figure out which direction I want to go.
Well, I kind of want to.
Unlucky for you, I'm Italian and I keep talking.
Yeah. So I kind of want to take that into a segue and go backwards for a second.
Okay.
I'm speaking about like career paths and kind of like how you ended up where you are doing this. And I think I think it is important to note too, like something that's so incredible about the work that you do and just like the person that you are in general is like this is so passion driven for you because you're not making $1 million. This is a nonprofit. Like this is so very much something that you're so passionate about.
Yeah.
And I think it'd be cool just to kind of like share with people your kind of journey and how you got to where you are, like maybe college, post-college, or unless you want to go further.
And I want to add additional question after we get to that part. So you talk so much about the community and I had like such good visualization, the girls like lifting each other's up back to back.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're trying to create with this podcast is community. You're trying to create community around this. So I think as you get to the point where you stepped into the role, can you talk, because I know that wasn't like a pretty picture, so can you talk about that moment once you get there and kind of like how you've utilized all you're talking about, all these community resources to help build it up?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay, so
her first.
rewinding.
Go back.
Yeah, way back.
Back up.
Back it up.
Back it up.
Yeah, I guess, so I started, if we go with college, I went to school in the Boston area and lived down there and didn't know what I wanted to do. I was like, oh, okay, have a business degree, marketing, okay. Huh. Ooh, you know, like,
all right.
what do I do with that? So I ended up working at Dana-Farber and I just had to kind of set in my mind, I was like, I don't know what I want to do, so I'm going to work places that give back. So at least in the meantime, when I figure out what my passion and my career path is going to look like, I'm giving back and I'm helping someone else. And so I did that and for a couple of years, and then I moved out to California and I worked at hospice out in San Diego. Did that for a couple of years. And then it took, so it's like, that's kind of a long time if you add it up for it to like really click. But then I realized I was like, oh, that is what I want to do. It's not that I'm doing this until I figure out what I want. That is it. Like, I want to give back and I want to be able to be in that type of organization or whatever. So, after hospice, then I started working at Lululemon. So that they have some really cool components. My job for most of my time at that corporation was at the showroom, which is where we met many moons ago. Yeah. But that, like, and then kind of going into what you were saying about community is to move from California to Portsmouth, and that job looked like finding real estate, building a team, like all those things. It's in everything in life, for better or for worse. I really feel like it's all who you know. So if
you kind of brought Lululemon to the east, to Portsmouth.
This area, yeah. So there wasn't the outlet. There wasn't one in New Hampshire at all. So it was definitely like.
It's pretty badass.
Yeah. Well, it was like it's to lean on people to help you grow a business is huge. So you have to have those authentic connections with people that it's reciprocal too. So working with studios, making sure you're giving them exposure. If they're, it's such a, but it was, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into growing that business for about 5 years. And but I got really, really cool relationships with people. And that's how I feel like I found my place in the Seacoast community. And then for a couple of different reasons, that job shifted and I removed myself from Lululemon, and I had to sit that summer, and it was, I feel like it feels a little dramatic to say, but I definitely like grieved the loss of that part of my life. Mm-hmm. I cried a lot that summer, letting go of that, like everything, like the consistent paycheck and the 401k and the managers that I worked alongside with for many years, and letting that go, even though I knew in my gut that my job would have had to transfer up to like the Salem area and be in a mall, and it just didn't. I was like, do I wake up every morning, and does that like, I'm not totally a morning person, so I'm not saying I hop out of bed and I'm like, oh, I'm here. but like I essentially do. Like I want a job like that. Like if I get up and my alarm goes off, I've had ones where like, and I feel like people have had these too, where you wake up and you almost have that like low key anxiety in your belly.
Yeah.
Because you're like
more than low key.
Yeah. Like and you're like.
They call it the Sunday scaries for a reason.
Yeah, and it's like I just feel like I can't do that. Like I can't wake up and not love what I do.
Yeah.
So I took a summer and I had a friend that actually needed help with her kiddos. And so I did that all summer and I applied for jobs and I looked around and I got real with myself about what is your like the business background in me was like, all right, make a budget, figure out what you need to do and what type of job can, mom's gotta pay her mortgage by herself. So like, can I do that? And then also what makes me feel like I can go to bed at night and feel good about what I'm doing and like the collective that you're talking about, like doing good for our whole our world. So that brought me to I was like soul models. I remember them. I donated to them when I worked at Lululemon because they did a yoga focused event. And I was like, yes, it's women empowerment. It is local. It is, when I got like clear about like what are the things that light me up and what do I need in a job, I was like, that's it. And so then, and that was an interesting 3 to 6 months of like figuring out what I wanted. But 3 to 6 months felt really long in the process. I was sweating it out, a lot of stress around that, but 3 to 6 months in how long are we gonna maybe I'll live until 100, so 3 to 6 months out of 100 years of the real digging into like.
Well, I think it's so cool how you kind of like, at least you make it seem this way, kind of like really focused in and honed in during that time on like what it was that you wanted to do, because I feel like so many people are so quick to like, oh, I left this opportunity, need to dive into the next one like tomorrow.
Yeah.
So it's like kind of being patient with yourself and really.
Or taking the job that has the health insurance and the 9 to 5 and the 401k and you punch the clock and at least it's consistent and comfortable.
It's like at least. That like word, at least.
I think, oh man, this is so interesting because not only do I think people do that with jobs, they do it with relationships.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, I'm scared, I'm alone, oh shit, oh, I'm in my own head. All right, hey, you look cute, okay, how's it going?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I just look at that so much and like, I think for me it's so much about like, I love, like the human dynamic is so cool. We all got our thing, we all got our patterns, we all got our ways of acting, and I think just based on having to understand my own patterns, I see that a lot. Like when I like talk to people, I try and like create my own story, I guess, if you will. And it's so interesting to watch people do that. And I just think how, I don't know if it's blind, maybe they're aware that they're choosing those out of fear, maybe they're not. Maybe it's just like a subconscious pattern, but I always wonder, like, are they aware of why they're choosing this? Are they intentionally choosing, like, oh, this is a great relationship? Or is it like you were scared, so you went and got the next job?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The fear of the unknown, we like teeny tiny like touched on it this morning when I got here. It's like the fear of the unknown. I think people, what is it? The devil that you know is better than the devil that you don't. Mm-hmm. Have you heard that before?
I haven't.
So you have no. So I think it's like people know, okay, well, the devil, like this job is going to be boring. It's not going to light me up. But what I don't know what else is out there, and I don't like that. That feels real scary. So I'm going to go with the one that I know, or the relationship that I know. Like this person kind of treats me like crap, but what would being alone or with myself
being alone
be like? And so we fill our schedules, we fill our time, and I'm guilty. This is something I'm working on right now too. Is like fill my schedule, fill, and that happens during the times when I don't want to really look at a particular thing.
Yeah, of course.
And it's like, okay.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that too.
Right?
Yeah. Let's get busy.
Yeah.
That's my go-to. Like, I can always get busy.
And that's why I try to surround myself with people that know that about me or know me so deeply that they will say, yeah, what you doing? Like,
Yo, what you doing?
like slow down.
What
like,
you doing,
did you have a day to yourself this week? or like, all right, I noticed that like you're free next to never to spend some time. So that means like, in knowing that that means that like I'm working through something that I'm trying to avoid or whatever it is. So.
Well, I wonder too, like, I think, we talked about this on the podcast before, but like trusting that voice, that instinctive, intuitive voice. And I think as you understand your patterns and you get older, have more experience, it's like I can oftentimes call my own self out. Like, I'm like, so, yeah, we've had about 3 seconds to ourselves this week, buddy. What's that all about, huh? Huh?
Yeah.
It's like, I just don't want to talk about it right now, so let's just do some more stuff.
And then do you journal, or like what do you do to
Well, no, I mean, for me, it's oftentimes about just like blocking, because I'm very similar to you in the sense that like I need alone time.
Yes.
And when I don't get it, that's when I get irritable or snap easier or whatever it is, like I hide from things, and it's like oftentimes it's like I just gotta block the entire world out. I'll just take some time to like do yoga, like eat some good food, just go slow. Like I feel like my life is so fast paced that it's like honestly just having a day where like just slowly, like methodically going through the day, like whatever, no rush about anything is like super healing for me.
I love that.
So do you think you are more of an extrovert or an introvert?
I love that you asked that question, because I think for a long time I was like, I need to be able to classify myself and I need to know exactly. And when I would say that I am like painfully shy, people would be like, no, you're not. And like when I got here this morning, like my hands were sweating, I was nervous, like being vulnerable and exposed and talking to people made me super duper nervous. And God, I keep touching on this, but I swear I'm gonna like give you like the whole detail scenario of this event. But like thinking about talking at the event at the press room, it's in May. It's May 15th. I have plenty of time to prepare. I am super nervous. And so that I feel like is the introvert side of me. But then the extrovert side of me is that it's a skill that I didn't realize was a skill I had until I heard it enough. And that's like another thing about soul models that I love is like we hear the negative things so much more loud, like clearly, loudly, whatever. And then it takes like hearing the positive things so many times and it finally resonates and we hear it and it lands. But I've heard so many times that I'm a connector and I finally live into that. I'm like, and I am a connector and I love that about myself, and it's something that I really appreciate. And so that is the extrovert side of me. Like I am able to go out and I could talk to a wall, like, and I love like going to creative mornings and being able to, I took Libby with me, or we went together to creative mornings last week, when was that? And it was like, hi. It was like Kate and Keith, and like just all the different people that, someone from Prescott Park, like Jonathan Day, just like all the different people that I know, or like Nicole Mower, who's just like all the different people that I've met for different reasons, but all either have a really cool connection to soul models or to my former life, or just like all the different things. But I love connecting, and that I feel like has been why I love my job and I love what I do.
And do you feel like that like people, like the interaction of just like being around people like lifts you up too, like fuels you, and not so much like drains you?
Yeah, I think that's interesting, because it's both.
Because it can be both.
Yeah, so it definitely, when I am feeling low, like my people are what fill me up and make me feel better. And I do love that a lot of, to make soul models successful is like, let's get a coffee, let's chat about what we're up to, let me share this. So it is a lot of like interacting and connecting and outward pouring of energy. And then I get to a certain point. So last week we had an awesome like community dinner at 1652 in York, because we'll be there at some point. And we had the celebration at Shapley where the board was there and parents and all the girls and facilitators, and so that was like a huge outpouring. And so it was like I was going and and then I did restaurant week with some friends on Friday, and then Saturday rolled around and I was like, yeah. And I spent a night really quiet by myself, catching up on some things in my DVR, folding laundry, just really like don't talk to me, and not in a negative way, but like it just really needed some like restorative time, and now I'm feeling restored. Yeah. It's like having that balance of like up here socially is like going to the nth degree, like I thrive on it, I love it, it's amazing, and then also like let me just dial it right on back.
I think the human experience is so interesting because, at least in my experience, and I'll speak for myself here, is like when I was in my young 20s, it's like I did all the things. I'd go work for 10 hours landscaping, and then like go to the gym, and then like go like hang out till midnight, and do that like every day of the week. I mean, granted, I smoked a ton of pot back then, so maybe like that helped, I guess. But it was just like,
well, I think
I look back, how did I do that?
Did you want to do it?
Exactly. We had a fear of missing out.
Yes.
In the early 20s. Like,
Well, yeah. I mean, and that's the other thing about experiences. I think I wanted to talk about earlier. It's like getting calmer. Where you know what? If I miss that, I know there's gonna be another opportunity. You know.
Right.
Yeah, there was because of.
And you become more aware of these things, like what does like fill me up and what does like refuel me.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'd get like the call at like 10:30 at night from my buddy Sean and be like, "Yo, dude, want a burn run?" It's like you're dead tired, but like, well, yeah, I gotta do that. Even though we're probably gonna do it 5 more times this week, but yeah, let's go.
Right. And then there's like, you know, you're saying like the FOMO, but there's also like the YOLO or whatever. It's like you only live once.
Yeah.
And I went into this weird place because I've had, you know, a couple of deaths in my past and one significant one that was sudden. And so for me, I was like, I had a time of my life where I was like, I could die tomorrow. I could die tomorrow. And then you go through that list, or I would go through that list of, do my relationships feel like they're in a place where if I die tomorrow, like, you know I love you. Oh, I'm gonna cry. Like, you know I love you and that it's in a good place. And am I like making an impact? And if I were to go, what is my life look like for the people that are still here? And did I, you know, at the end of my life, am I going to say, like, I'm really glad I got that email in on Friday? Or is it like, I'm really glad I took that extra half hour to connect with that person? Or, yeah, I think as morbid as that can be, I think having significant loss does reframe how you show up in life.
Well, I think that resonates, and I think that's so important because I think even though you have those experiences, it's so easy in our world to get caught up in the like speed, where like I mean, they have this thing in the brain. It's called the built-in forgetter. So like even though you have an experience where like maybe you learned a lesson, like 6 months goes by, a year goes by, nothing even similar, like you repeat it again. You know what I mean? You get caught up in it, and I think I've recently been going through that similar question. Is like is me working another shift at the restaurant going to be the legacy I want to leave, or like I spent some time with my parents and like we had love? Like what's more important there? You know what I mean? Like
and there's the balance and the reality of okay, can I pay my bills? Because if spending the time with your parents meant that you couldn't,
I know.
You know, so it's like you have to balance the logical reality of adulting, as they say, you know, and then the other side of, there's a really, really awesome documentary called Happy.
Oh, yeah, so good.
So good. I have it if you want to borrow it. But it's about if your basic needs are met, that's really all the money you need. So are you clothed? Are you fed? Do you have a roof over your head? And then actually and then there's this area where it's like, it could go either way. But then when the people have like significant wealth, their happiness metric actually goes down.
Yeah. That was the one where they literally have like a word for people dying from working too hard, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and that was so interesting too, because weren't both places like the happiest and the most depressed places in the world? Weren't they both in Japan? One was like an island, and one like where people were just like, it was more like.
Yeah, where was that island?
I feel like it was.
Stay tuned. I'll look it up and get
Well,
back to you.
so this is super. There's something. Wow, this just opened up like so many neural pathways in my head, buzzing right now. So there was a study, an article I read a couple years ago, actually, when I was living on Badger Island, about up to $75,000. There's like obviously if you're making 20 grand a year and you bump up to 60,000, that is clearly going to increase your happiness. But like once you get to 75,000, they find that anything above that doesn't there's no increase in levels. If anything, there's like this decrease.
See, numbers fan. Now you have, that was like my general idea behind it. But yes, the numbers. Yeah.
And I think it's so interesting too. And even like social media is, again, there's dark and light to everything. So there's positives and negatives to it. And I look at like there's this huge overhaul, I think, with like this simplification of life. They call it like the people that are living with less. I don't even, there's like a word, there's like documentaries on it. I can't think of what it's called. Minimalism, yeah. And so like when you're on a phone, right, social media, and like perfect example, these shoes and this watch were purchased due to fantastic Instagram marketing that had been hitting me for months, and I was like, wow, that looks really good.
I'm feeling those boots too.
Yeah, I am too. Like, I mean, they're fire.
Some sweet Tim.
But part of me really thinks and has felt this need for primal energy, and like part of me wants to just go in the woods, create a commune, and literally my job is to hunt and fish and like make sure the house is okay. And like that my life would probably be, not to say I'm not happy now, but it would be simpler. There would be so much more time to like take time with spirit every morning and just like really like slowly start your morning and like get in tune with nature and, you know, spend time with the family and just do these simple things that the speed of our world takes us away from. And like it's like sometimes I think like what am I trying to attain? Like I'm not gonna be able to take the house with me. Like does it matter if I live in an apartment or a house? Like like business world tells me investment wise maybe, like does it matter what car I'm driving? Does like it get like, I think about these things sometimes and it's like I really just like feel this draw, like let me just go in the woods, because like that's like hunting and like bringing home the deer or the fish, like it's like the most primal satisfying feeling. And
unplugging is
simple.
So important. And we don't like, going to Shapley, like when I'm there for program, my people know that from 2 o'clock when I step into the school till about 5, when you know, like from beginning to end, I don't have reception. And that's just 3 hours. It's 3 hours. And I had a moment of anxiety around that at the beginning where I was like, no one will be able to get in touch with me. Okay, well, on the slim chance that something really terrible happened, and like, knock on wood, like it wouldn't. But if it did, people know where I am, they can find me, it is what it is. Or, you know, but letting go of that stress of like being unplugged. But during the summertime, during that summer of like a lot of anxiety and stress after switching jobs, I would go to Rye, because I have poop reception at Rye Beach, and my phone wouldn't work. So I would go there. My friend Erica has a cute little beach cottage there, and I would sit there with the ocean, with nature, with my journal, with myself and my people, and my phone wasn't dinging because it wouldn't work, and just unplug it.
I think that's such an important way to put it, because I think it's just in the society that we live in, if you want to be a part of society, like you need to find that balance. Like you can't just go live in the woods by yourself. And I mean, like you can, but you can't. Like you have to kind of figure out what balance is for you. And it's funny that you say that, because it's funny because every person that I've ever dated in my life has said that exact same thing. And I think maybe it's just like a guy thing that you want to be like connected to. Like they've all said, I just want to go live in the woods by myself. And it might just be the kind of person I attract, but like, get out, leave me alone, Michaela.
Is that how they're breaking up with you? They're like, so I'm gonna go live in the woods alone and you're not invited?
Like maybe we just cracked.
I never said alone, I said a commune.
But it's like, I don't know, but it's like this like primal, like you said, like primal like energy where I think, especially for men, it's just like this need to just like feel connected to the earth and just like be able to like do things and create things on your own. But based on the society that we live in now, like we have so much distraction and so many the jobs that are offered to us, like you don't really have the ability to live a lifestyle like that. But I think for so many people that's still like a part of the person that you are. So like it comes down to like just the humanism of it. Like the manliness of it, or the humanism of it, or like for women, like nurturing, like whatever it may be, like it's always going to be a part of the human part of what, like, who we are, but it's finding that balance in today's society and the way life once was.
I think it's huge because they talk a lot about like men fall into these like depressions, and you'll find like as they get older they're just doing that like safe job, right?
Yeah.
So they're not like fueling this like passionate primal energy, so they just like almost become dejected and just like slump around. And it's like for me, like I can explain that feeling. Last year I was sleeping the night before, I had a vision of catching a giant striper, and the next day I was like, I gotta go. I just was like, we're just gonna trust this, I gotta go fish.
Yeah.
And it was a thunder and lightning storm, and I was like, I don't care, I'm gonna trust it, I gotta go.
Aren't
And
pools
so-
made out of metal?
No,
Just
fiberglass.
kidding. I don't think
So I'm fishing like 3 hours, like full rain gear, like sloshing around in the rain, like of course only human being out there. And
Of
like
course.
made me feel so good about myself. Fuck yeah,
like the park ranger, whoever like comes out and you're like, I had a vision. I'm
yeah,
good.
yeah, literally.
It's
So
fine.
so yeah, I mean
It's
like
not metal.
3 hours go by, I'm like dejected, and I'm like, God, man, maybe I was just an idiot. But I'm like, one more cast, and I cast off the bridge, and I cast this huge fish, and like had to like jump off the wall, whatever, like get the fish, like got its skills, like bring it home, like, guys, I got the fish, and like it's just the most. That's why I got into hunting this year. It's a primal energy that's hard to describe, but it's just like it's passion. It's like this is what I'm supposed to be doing. There's a red-tailed hawk outside our window.
What does that mean?
Magic.
Did you just get scared?
No.
Oh,
Do you want to know what that is?
tell me.
I
Okay.
already know.
This is like weird as hell. Okay.
Whoa.
We got the
So-
red-tailed hawk with the red
I
tail
can't
lady.
even tell the difference between a seagull and
Wait, you guys, that's like really, really okay. So some people out there
Birds.
are gonna think I'm kind of crazy, but
Not me,
some
because
other
I'm.
people are gonna think
probably not me.
they're gonna resonate with this. So in my family, I touched on it a little bit briefly. I've had some loss, and so when the person knew that they were gonna pass, they would say like, "You'll see a yellow bird, and you'll know that I'm okay." So that's kind of like how my family. But I lost my dad suddenly, and I was talking to a medium at one point, and when I was like really struggling, and they said, I don't know why, but there's a red-tailed hawk coming through for you, and I don't know why, and I don't know what that would mean. And I was like, well, nobody else had said that bird, so I don't, and I was like, it would have to be my dad. And so that's the bird that she said was coming through. So like, sorry, I gasped for all you people that probably thought I was like very petrified of birds. That just like when you said that, I was like, what the?
Oh my god.
I saw a crow.
Oh, I'm like sweating thinking about that. That's crazy.
I saw a
That's
crow, and then
amazing.
the hawk curled around in the sunlight. You could very clearly see it. I also have a thing with hawks.
He
You
does
get
have a
that.
thing with hawks.
And eagles.
We
And
saw
just
bald eagle
birds.
the other day.
I also saw hello fly. Welcome to
That's
spring.
amazing. That's
No, because I
makes
had
sense. I'm not like that's so amazing.
I saw
Yeah.
a medium too,
That's
and I saw birds.
when I need it the most. I'm like, you got me.
What's up,
Yeah.
Dad?
Like, yeah. Yay! That makes my
What's
heart
up,
happy.
Carrie's
Oh.
dad? Hi.
That's
Yeah.
so special.
Well, that was a cool moment.
That was so
You
cool.
guys, I'm so jazzed. That just like
Wow,
made
what
me
a
so
what
happy.
a like
Ah.
wow, what a great way
I'm
to
like
end your
speechless
podcast.
right now. Yeah.
So, on that note, do you want to
Oh, on that note, because I know that everything I do is probably to make my parents proud. So I will say, because I've touched on it 50,000 times.
and not said it.
May 15th, we're going to be at the press room, and we're going to have a couple of the girls speaking. So some of our soul models that have been with our program for the last couple of years, and we're going to have awesome live music from Laura Fox, who is a local. She's actually a Trape alum. So who else? We're going to have Jen, DJ Scooch come, and we have keynote speakers, and obviously I'll say a little something, but tickets are available. Go to our Facebook page, you can purchase those, and everything goes back to keeping the organization running and scholarships and all the goodness that Soul Models is bringing to you.
That's
Oh,
amazing.
so amazing.
Yay!
So your Facebook page, Soul Models on Facebook, and
Yep.
Soul Models, Seago Soul Models on Instagram, or
No, it's Soul Models.
just Soul
Yeah, we've
Models?
been changing it. We used to be Seacoast Soul Models, now we're Soul Models. We can branch out. But yeah, on there, Give Lively is where we're selling our tickets. But yeah, Soul Powerful. If you want to search the event on Facebook, Soul Powerful.
Okay. Is it on Eventbrite too? Or just Facebook?
No, Give Lively is actually a really cool website similar to Eventbrite, but it supports specifically nonprofits. So people have the opportunity to pay to cover the processing fee for us. So even though it's only like 28 cents or 32 cents or whatever it is, depending on what you're using, the person has the opportunity to elect to pay that for us. So that hopefully if we sell all 150 tickets to the press room, that's not 28 cents times 150, whatever that is.
That's right.
So so no Eventbrite.
So
but
cool.
Help us out, people. Help us out.
hopefully we'll see you there.
Yeah.
On that note, do you want to like finish with what you think a wild heart is? Living with a wild heart is?
God.
I have like chills right now.
Dude, yeah, I know. Wild heart, I think I would probably give a different explanation or definition every time I was asked, but I think it is the heart that, like I said before, like that makes your heart beat, the fire in your belly, what makes you happy, like what makes you feel wild, whether that be in nature or just doing what lights you up. Yeah, I think that's the
I
wild
think you
heart.
said wild animal.
I was just about to bring that up.
I'm just like,
And that was so cool too with what just happened. So.
it's trying to reconnect, yeah.
Thank you guys for listening,
I know,
and
it's cool.
always reach out if you have more questions about soul models too. I know
Yes.
I was kind of like, that's
Yeah, guys,
Little
get
bit me.
inspired. Have a great week. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Holy moly, I'm so excited. You guys, that was
That was so
crazy.
special.